All right, let's go to this Matt Gaetz and Tucker Carlson. I subscribe to, you know, the idea that China is a rival, that we should have some more secure supply lines for a lot of different things in this country. I also wouldn't be terribly excited about having a lot of technology made in China. I'm down with that. But this stuff is bat crap crazy right here. Here's Tucker Carlson with Matt Gaetz. You remember Matt Gaetz? So credible that he was wearing a gas mask to make fun of the fact that coronavirus was coming. Oh, everybody's afraid of it. Let's watch these two morons.
Well, instead of breaking our dependence on China, the coronavirus paradoxically has increased it in many places. Dozens of American cities and states are using Chinese drones manufactured by DJI, a Chinese company, to monitor citizens for social distancing. There's a massive problem with this. As Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida says, he is pressuring the Justice Department to investigate and potentially halt the use of these drones. Congressman Gaetz joins us tonight. Congressman, thanks a lot for coming on. So why, apart from the civil liberties concerns, which are important, I would argue, but why are these drones dangerous?
China is massively expanding a Trojan horse spying operation in our country, and your local police department may be unknowingly helping them. The United States Army, the Department of Interior, they banned their use of these DJI drones, citing vulnerability and potential value for other countries. The Department of Homeland Security wrote a scathing report that said that China specifically goes after local law enforcement. They did so even before the coronavirus so that they can get key information, transmit it to the Chinese government, and then our own Department of Homeland Security wrote that this is precisely the type of information we're worried that China might sell to terrorists. So even before the coronavirus, Tucker, you had this company reducing their prices for drones by 70%. They drove U.S. manufacturers out of the market. And since coronavirus, DJI is openly bragging that they have just donated these Trojan horse gifts to over, 22 states, to over 40 municipalities. And when I talk to these municipalities in my own investigation, they say, well, it's no big deal. We just fly them around the parks and tell people to disperse, or we just make sure folks are social distancing. But the information that's being collected makes our nation more vulnerable. And I believe the Attorney General, under the existing authorities he has under the cybersecurity laws, should immediately ground the entire fleet of DJI drones used by U.S. law enforcement. We should not be spied on by our own government in giving the information then to a foreign government that's hostile.
Man, I hope you stay up late every night until you get that done. I mean, that's something that could be done, as you just described it, very quickly, and that needs to be done. Congressman, thank you
Stroke of a pen
for your vigilance on that. Amen.
Stroke of a pen. Gosh. Like thank God. Act. It's okay that the cops can spy on us. That's not the problem. The problem is the Chinese have a backdoor into this information to see who's social distancing and not. And then they're going to take this information. Like, first of all this stuff is available on Google Earth, right? Yes, like exactly. The Chinese have the satellites. They can see if they're really going to sell the information to terrorists, right? That's the story. They're going to sell the information to terrorists. This is where people are actually not social distancing. So for your terrorist attack, because China, they're big into selling stuff to terrorists who are going to attack the United States. They don't want to talk about, hey, like it could be a problem that we're giving all this surveillance technology to police departments. Maybe we shouldn't do that. How about let's not worry that the Chinese are going to get the information? Or how about this? How about let's also not worry that the police departments or the makers of any of these drones aren't going to sell it to hedge funds so they know where the best place to put them all is.
Right.
I mean, all of this technology, all of this is all available on our phones. Every app you have, except for the Majority Report app, every app you have, except for the Majority Report app, which is available at majorityapp.com, has what is known as an SDK in it. I don't know what that stands for, but it basically collects data on where you are at any given point. Right. And so when you see all of these like studies that are done, like, how do we know that people are loosening in their social distancing? Well, we can tell how far people are driving every day and how
Oh,
far they're taking the buses or how far they're doing this because of their phones.
Right. They've actually installed these to
Yes.
monitor people. The government. I mean, they've passed it. Well, this is the frustrating part about this. Clearly, there's some sort of hidden agenda here, other than just criticizing China at a convenient moment where that is now the enemy of.
I think that's what it is.
But with that being said, there's a ton. I don't know why that would be the drone would be that like.
They're
Maybe
just
it's
looking for anything. Tomorrow night it'll be something different. It'll be cookies that they're selling.
Right.
They're selling us cookies that have like some type of brain chemicals that are, going to turn us all speaking Chinese or something.
You could rephrase it as an upstart sort of tech company has found a way to infiltrate a police state and get direct access to a whole bunch of information on its activities. Like, I mean, if China is spying on our police departments, just publish information, folks. That's all I have to say.
Well, but that's the thing. They're not, to the extent that they're getting any information from these things, it's just data they're going to monetize by, selling it to a hedge fund. They're not going to sell the stuff to terrorists. Why? China doesn't need to do that if they want to help terrorists attack us. And if they want their money, there's a lot better ways for them to do it. It's just the dumbest critique.
Well, you had to take in two hot button issues. Obviously, it's not.
Well, and
if terrorists want the information. They're not going to China. There are places they can go. It's not China. Also, I mean, all of these apps. I mean, Israeli-owned apps. I mean, let's just go through the list. Saudi Arabia-owned apps. I mean, and technology. It's all of it is information that is now being held by other governments. I'm waiting for real congressional hearings about that. There's plenty of legislation. Ro Khanna has been great about this. There are plenty of lawmakers who have been actively pushing for some sort of oversight, but they're constantly trying to keep up with technology. If you want to have that conversation, have that conversation. But Matt, or whatever his name is, Gaetz is not the guy to do it. He's somebody who has pushed for immigrants to be pushed out of the country during the pandemic.
I mean, what it is, it's also sort of like it's a freebie, right? It's like we can do this without really in any way offending the major powers that have the real stake in our investments in China and our, private investment in China. Like, I'm not going to step on the toes of the NBA and this and that. I mean, that's what this is about. How do we demonize China without it in any way of stepping on the toes of some of the real players who are really dictating what our relationship with China is? Right. That's what this is about more than anything else.